So, hi everybody, welcome to our podcast. And this is the new season of onRec. And today we are having on our show Sanjeev Sharma, the CEO of the startup Swayaat Robots and alumnus of IIT Roorkee. So, hello Sanjeev.
Hi Swastika,
Hello sir, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. Online classes are a mess right now, but
I hope you guys are enjoying it.
it's it's tough actually, but yeah, it's okay.
Sure, definitely.
So tell us something about Swayaat Robots.
So at Swaayatt, like we are developing the autonomous driving technology. So we are primarily developing level 5 autonomous driving technology with the goal that such a technology would be able to deal with the traffic complexities and the noise, or you can say uncertainty, or the stochasticity associated with the traffic dynamics, the kind of traffic dynamics that you see on Indian roads. So that is our goal. We are developing the level 5 technology with a goal that such technology would be able to deal with such complex traffic scenarios as you see on Indian roads.
So it's really cool. Like autonomous driving is really cool. When we looked into your profile and we got to know about you, we were like so excited to. It's like there are a very few number of startups in India which deals with autonomous driving, and you are one of our alumnus, and it's a great thing to have you on our podcast.
Thank you so much. I mean, thanks for having me in your podcast. I mean,
Okay,
sure,
so going on to the first question. So
sure.
how difficult was starting up with this thing? Like the hardware startup ecosystem in India and the
Sure.
capital requirements. How difficult was
Sure.
it?
So, yes, definitely. So, I started SWAT was formally, I formally registered in 2015. So, in 2014, I came back to India. And, so I had been researching on autonomous navigation since fourth semester of my undergrad. So, that's January 2009. So, from 2009 to 2014, you can say that I had built a very decent amount of mathematical background to be able to work on such technologies. So at the time, I was admitted to PhD at University of Massachusetts Amherst. But my mother's health was not good, so I took 1 year deferral and came back to India. And since I came back to India, I had 1 year to just work on anything. So initially, I started Swayaat Robots as a, you can say, as an experimental research, because like I had been working on some of the motion planning algorithmic frameworks for a couple of years. And when I got a chance to actually test that idea. So initially I started this as testing some of my motion planning algorithmic frameworks. But having worked on it for quite some months, I realized that this could be a full-fledged company, a startup. So in 2015, I formally started the company. As far as the capital requirement is concerned, so I hold expertise, or you can say I held expertise in the area of motion planning and decision making under uncertainty. So that's one part of autonomous driving. There are other parts of autonomous driving as well, like perception, planning, and controls. And it's a very capital intensive. So when I started my startup, I had around 40 lakh rupees to start with. So at that point in time, even a cost of a lidar would have been 75 lakh rupees, and when you import in India, that would cost around 90 or one CR roughly. So that's when the innovation in other areas of autonomous driving started to happen. So initially, I looked at the autonomous driving problem only as a planning problem. Like, how does autonomous vehicle negotiate with tough traffic dynamics? How does autonomous vehicle make decisions just like human drivers do? But having started a full-fledged company, I started working in other areas of autonomous driving as well, including perception and localization. And I think if you visit our website, like one of our goals is to enable autonomous vehicles to perceive their environment using only the cameras, or maybe reducing the number of lidars or expensive sensors that go out into autonomous vehicle by a significant amount. So when we didn't have the funds actually to buy these expensive sensors, that's when I took it as a research challenge to actually develop the perception technology to be able to allow autonomous vehicles to perceive using only the camera. So that's when the area of perception became a full, you can say, integrated part of Swayaat robots. And now, if you look at Swayaat, we primarily research into the planning and perception. Along with that, we also research in the area of localization. So starting Swayaat Robots is, I mean, it was not easy. I mean, there was hardly any support for startup, in general, and that to an R&D startup. I mean, even today, I mean, there's very little support in India for an R&D startup. So starting Swayaat Robots was very tough. But I think like I spent significant amount of time into building the necessary, background to be able to develop, proof of concept of technology like single-handedly. Otherwise, this would have required a huge amount of team to actually, just start working on.
Mm. So, like, I know students do internships under you too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is something important.
So far, so far 52 students have graduated from Swayaat Robots, including some, I think there are only very few ITs from which students have an intern with us. But anyone like, so earlier, like so primarily for students, for undergraduate students, this is primarily is an R&D lab for them, right? So students come here with the goal of going to grad school, and anyone who came with that objective actually went to grad school. So we are proud of that as well.
that is great. So, what is the status right now of Swayaat Robots?
So currently we have developed a proof of concept of technology. So I think if you visit our website, there are around 35 demos on our website. So some of the demos are very confidential. We haven't put them on our website, but as far as the public demos are concerned, there are 35 demos. And you notice that around 7 to 8 demos of those are on our Mahindra Bolero vehicle.
Hmm.
So we have developed the entire proof of concept of technology. Now we are at a point where we are trying to raise one. We are raising $9.5 million. It's not a confidential thing. It's pretty open. So we are going for $95 million valuation when raising funding. And so that's good enough. It's not great. I mean, because we are in India. Like if we had been in any other country, we could have raised more and at much higher valuation as well. But that's good enough. So we have built the pro concept technology in planning department. We have demoed that our vehicle has the capacity to negotiate a really tight stochastic traffic dynamics that you typically see on Indian roads. If you see, some of our demos are on colony kind of environments, and like what colony kind of environments present in India. We have done highway demos, so we have been covered twice by BBC Click. So BBC Click is a flagship, is a technology flagship program of BBC. We have done live demo with other news media, media channels as well as newspapers as well. And apart from that, like there are standalone demos where I and our team members have demoed, and you can see some of the campus driving demos as well on our website. And apart from that, in the perception department, like currently we have developed the algorithmic frameworks that allow autonomous vehicles, okay, to perceive using only cameras. But apart from that, you would see that every demo on our website comes with a gigaflop number. And like if you work in the area of deep learning, you know that our deep neural network frameworks, we are not claiming for every task for autonomous vehicle perception, but at least the key important tasks that we have worked on, our algorithmic frameworks are up to 40 times computational efficient compared to the state of the art. When we are talking about the state of the art, I'm talking about almost every major company on the planet who is working on autonomous driving, NVIDIA included.
So that's great. Then you were talking about Indian unpredictable roads and the campuses. So why did you choose to come to India? Like you did your masters from University of Alberta, and then you could have gone to any other company. You could have earned more. But why did you choose to
No,
come to India?
yes, yes. Sure. So I mean, as I mentioned, I was admitted to PhD at University of Massachusetts Amherst. So it is one of the top 10 PhD programs in the world. If you want to do so, Autonomous Learning Lab is one of the most famous AI labs in entire US. So I was admitted to fall 2014, but because of my mother's health, I had to take 1 year deferral and postpone my admission to 2015. But when I came back and when I started working on it, I realized, okay, that this could be a full-fledged opportunity. So why not capitalize on that? And I mean, even to this, so some of the ideas, I'm not claiming it for everything, but for some of the ideas that I have developed, I think the world is at least 5 to 6 years behind compared to some of those ideas. I mean, okay, I will talk about it. It's very technical discussion, but again, like so, having those ideas, I mean, and then over the years, having worked on other areas as well, um, like there was an opportunity, I just capitalized on it. The question is, okay, fine, I mean, if we had been in any other country, yes, the journey would have been easier. But as far as the job is concerned, like I have never considered job in my life. I mean, I didn't even opt for the placement in the fourth year in BTech. I never applied to any company for that matter. And my entire focus since my second year undergrad was to get into a PhD program, a top 10, top 15 PhD program, and I did that. I didn't go into that. That's a totally separate issue. So I mean, if your question is like why not for PhD, then the answer would be okay. I mean, it's from I look at things only from purely knowledge point of view. So from knowledge point of view, what I wanted to do in life, I had sufficient knowledge for that. I mean, knowledge is never sufficient, but okay, sufficient enough knowledge, right? To be able to build the POC, the proof concept of the technology that we wanted to build. So having that knowledge, I didn't feel the requirement then to go for a PhD. I mean, even to this date, I mean, like there are some people who says that I should go to some other country or perhaps do it elsewhere. As I mentioned, like I mean, if we had been in any other country, the journey would have been easier. But again, like I mean, that's a choice you made in life. I mean, so you can do nothing about it.
So how different it is to to work in India? I mean, I've read your articles. They said a unique technique, a unique technology is needed for this thing in India.
Oh
So
yes. Yes, sure. So, so if you look at the autonomous driving development happening all over the world, you notice that, I mean, companies are moving very slowly. So even like until 2030, the world at large would be able to solve the problem of safety, and that too in structured traffic dynamics. So what we are developing, so don't get me wrong, I mean, we are not developing the technology for India per se. I mean, definitely, I mean, that there is that outcome, definitely, but what we are developing is that a technology that can work in traffic as difficult as in India.
hmm,
Only then you can take this technology and ensure that the safety would be ensured when you take it into the structured traffic dynamics. For example, if you look at all the major developments, I mean, they are developing the algorithms and testing them into very structured traffic dynamics and in very structured environment scenarios as well. And that's why the discovery of the corner cases is very slow. And it is going to be slow for quite some amount of time as well. So what we are doing is that we understand, okay, if you want to ensure safety, so it's a basic engineering thing basically. I mean, if you're developing certain thing for some application X, you would ensure that it can handle 10x kind of worse scenarios.
hmm,
And once you take this technology, once you develop the verified technology, and once you ensure that it can deal with the traffic damage that is present in India, only then you can ensure that the autonomous driving, vehicles can be safe at large. I mean, there's a reason why. I mean, autonomous driving technology is not available in the market at large. I mean, primary reason being because ensuring safety is a very tough task. So what we are working on is to develop technology and prove that it can work in the most adversarial and most stochastic kind of traffic and environmental scenarios imaginable for autonomous driving.
right, right. Like this makes more sense. We can expand it if it's like
Definitely.
better in the
And
work.
if you yeah, if so currently, like we have raised some POC with some of the major European OEMs, and we have also collaboration with some of the major, these are public companies. I mean, major lidar companies in the world. I mean, based in the US. So most of our collaborations are also outside India, because what we are doing is that we are developing technology, proving them in the worst kind of traffic and environmental scenarios imaginable, and then we are taking back into the ecosystem, where there's already a market, where there's already an existing market like in the Europe and North America,
Hmm,
and that's our ideal go to market strategy as well.
hmm. That's great. Like it's expanding and yeah. So coming on to my next question, this is like quite important for students. um,
Sure.
yeah, I did a thorough stalking on you, like a healthy stalking on you in your, and I got to know that your CG was quite low, and yet you did your masters from University of Alberta, and you said you went to University of Massachusetts too. So how did you manage to do? Like I know my friends who want to go for higher studies, but they're usually worried about their CGs, and they're always worried about their CGs. So tell us something.
Sure. It's a yes. It's a so if the question about the CGPA, undergrad CGPA. So my grad CGPA was 3.9 out of 4. It's pretty. So I won a GPA. I won the GPA award as well. That's worth $1,000 at University of Alberta. So my undergrad GPA being low because I have never done something in my life that doesn't interest me, right? So it's an unfortunate thing in India that after once we finish our 12th, we rarely have an idea
Mm.
like what is good for us, like what branch is good for us, where should we go, what should we do. But my objective in life was very clear. It has to be robotics. And in January 2009, when I saw some of the DARPA Urban Challenge videos, I got the goal of my life, which was autonomous driving, and the rest is history, basically, right? So having realized, so my goal was also to go to the PhD program now, and then the CGPA. So you have to balance them, right? So I never compromise on things that I believe in. So I had to, my objective while finishing the BTech was that I should have enough knowledge to
Mm.
single-handedly develop an autonomous driving technology. It was a fairly foolish, ambition, but again, you live for ambitions and goals in life. I mean, so that was my ambition that I should gather enough knowledge. Now, what happens is that like, I was in electrical engineering department, and our courses were in power systems, right?
Mm.
And as you can clearly see, I mean, autonomous driving and the course, uh, the courses of the undergrad, they do not match, right? So I had to sacrifice one, right? Now, I also had this goal of going to grad school, but I didn't want to compromise my knowledge,
Mm.
right? So that was a first objective, right? So having sacrificed the GPA is very important because see, ultimately, if you're going to apply to grad school, if you apply to MIT, ECS department, Berkeley, Stanford, all these top 10 PhD programs, chances are your application will be filtered out
Mm.
before even being passed through admissions committee because your GPA is very low, or maybe your GRE is very low, right?
Mm.
Uh, and in my case, it was both, right? So, but what I did otherwise, right? I mean, so I built my background. Even in undergrad, I had a website known as searchingeye.com. So I built the knowledge, and through searchingeye.com, I started giving lectures in all those areas that I was studying. So in my fourth and fifth semester, I studied like 5 books that are considered to be grad level books. I mean, sometimes like for example, I read a book on numerical optimization. It is considered 2 semester course even in graduate program, right? So this is what I did otherwise, right? Apart from that, I realized, okay, since my GPA is low, I had to publish paper.
Mm.
Before I finished first year of my masters, I had already 9 papers, including one in IGRR. IGRR is the topmost journal in robotics. So this is what I did otherwise. So you have to be very clear what your goal in life is. My goal was autonomous driving. I didn't want to compromise on my knowledge, and since I had made it an objective that by the time I finish my undergrad, I should have that much knowledge. If you're going for that level of knowledge, I mean, what you're saying is that what students study during a master's and PhD in terms of courses, I should have that knowledge during my undergrad. To be able to do that, you have to sacrifice something. So unfortunately, I sacrificed my undergrad GPA, including I failed in systems engineering course as well. I mean, maybe you know or not, and then I had to repeat it in my fourth year, right? So this is like my approach towards approaching achieving objectives in life is sometimes very contradictory. So that's why I don't guide anyone, I mean, to do anything basically, right? One thing you notice, I never supervise someone in their life goals or what it is. If you want to ask me, if you want to ask me like what should I do to gain this or that, I can supervise you for that. But if you want advice in terms of life goals and what you should do, how should I achieve your objective, I never advise it because my advice are very contradictory in nature. So this is the reason why. But if you notice in grad school, the courses were meeting my objectives. I mean, that's why you go to grad school, because you want to learn something, right? So there I had I only in 2 subjects I had A-, but in all the other 4 courses I had A plus or A. So I mean, this is what happens when things align with my objective.
They were extremely good. Like there was a huge jump from your IITR CG to your grad school GPA, and
I mean, this is not the first. I mean, my advisor. So I did my internship in Israel as well, and including my undergrad internship at UMass Amherst itself, right? And in both the places, my advisors advised me, okay, fine. I mean, your ambition is to go to top 10 grad schools, but then you should do something with your GPA. It was too late already, but I knew it beforehand, right? So
mm,
once you sacrifice something, ensure that you make up for the sacrifice in life. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, I hope that many times you as an undergrad student, right, you would like wake up at night and say, okay, let me do. You'd be like full of energy and you'd say, okay, I wasted my entire day. Okay, let me consume this entire night and do this thing great. But what you realize after 2 a.m., 3 a.m., you just sleep, right? And the next day cycle repeats. Okay, at night, just integrate it over life, right?
mm,
So what regret would you have when you are, see, 30 years from now, will I be alive? I do not know. 10 years from now, no one knows that. Tomorrow, no one knows that, right? So do something in life that really interests you, right? So don't have the regret, right? If you think that, for example, like, answering the questions that the students are concerned with, right? See, if your objective is not to go for that level of knowledge, or if you're unsure of that you would be able to accomplish what I did, right, by sacrificing the GPA, then don't sacrifice it. Ensure, make a healthy balance. For example, maintain a good GPA, go for a good R&D sort of internship in your undergrad, maybe get a first, second, or third author paper, and that's good enough to go into best of the best graduate programs as well. But if you're sure that by sacrificing something that is important to them, because you have to understand, you are applying to their grad program, they are setting a criteria, right? They are not inviting you, please apply, right? You are applying there, so you have to respect their criteria, right? So if you are going to disrespect that, I mean, if you are not going to qualify that, then ensure that you do something that they like, and they like research, right? So if you're going to research lab, they would prefer. So if you have 10 research paper, your undergrad GPA is 5, doesn't matter, as long as you know a professor who can save you from the filtering round. So I mean, so just ensure that if you make a compromise something, you make up for that compromise.
Yeah, like this is really important. And actually, it's very difficult to do this in lockdown. Like we have no motivation waking up in the same room, sleeping back in the same
Sure.
room, not going anywhere and attending classes,
Sure.
sitting at one place. It's quite difficult.
Sure.
Yeah.
Uh,
So okay.
so is that question? I mean, I can answer that as well.
No, I was just replying to
Okay. Okay.
your
Sure.
answer.
Sure.
Yeah. So okay, so coming on to your the next part of the podcast. So I heard about your another startup, DeepEigen. Uh, please tell us something
Sure.
about it too.
Sure. So I mean, doing autonomous driving is already very hard, and DeepEigen is yet another bootstrap startup. But see, something has to be done with the education system in the country, right? There are so many problems, socioeconomic problems that we are living with. Then there's a different problem, like in India, undergrad is good enough, but when you go to grad program, like they're not up to the mark. I mean, it's not a problem that I'm highlighting. We are living with this problem. That's the reason why, like, the moment you finish your bachelor's, if you're thinking master's or PhD, you're thinking abroad, right? Because you know that in India, the higher education is not good enough. And uh, with DeepEigen, we have two goals. One is to change the education scenario in the country, and the other is, to make this knowledge online. So we are providing the courses, online courses, that are as deep as the top graduate programs in the world. And our goal is to reduce the price of such education by a factor of 20 in 3 years from now. So until next 3 years, the price point would be 1/10, like 1/5 to 1/10 of the range. And beyond that would be like 120 to 1/10 of the range. So we want to provide the best education possible, the knowledge in the emerging areas as well as the regular areas as well, and we want to ensure that even the weakest section of the society can have access to the cutting edge education. So, and also with that, we hope that we'll be able to create this R&D scenario in the country, because it is very important, right? If you're going to build a transferring startup in India, right? Let's suppose your company is $10 billion company, you would have like 10,000 people working in your company, right? Out of those 10,000 people, how many do you want to, bring from outside, and how many of them do you want to be Indian, Indian people, Indian citizens working in those companies, right? So likewise, there are going to be so many emerging areas as well, and the knowledge base of the graduates in India is not sufficient enough to work in these emerging areas, most importantly when the cutting edge R&D jobs are concerned. So solving that problem, we have started this initiative DeepEigen. So earlier it was an internal part of Swayaat Robots, right? Because if you want to work in autonomous driving, you have to update your knowledge. So we had this internal program, but we realized, okay, we can commercialize it. So last year we launched it for the world, and now, I mean, if you go to DeepEigen, you can see our objective is to make cutting edge education sustainable. That is to say that we want to provide the very deep education, but also at a very affordable price, so that most of the people in India can afford that kind of education.
This is a great initiative, and yeah, it's important in our country. And so how do students apply for it? Is there any way?
Oh, for Swayaat Robots or for DeepEigen?
Deep wagon.
I'm sorry. Okay. So I mean, this is an online platform. So I mean, I mean, if you visit my LinkedIn profile, there would be link to the website, or you just do Google search for DeepEigen. So once you are a DeepEigen, you can take the courses that you're interested in, and the student can pay the price or like whatever like subscription fee if they cannot pay at once. They pay the price and then they take the courses on our platform, and every course comes with like significant number of assignments as well.
Hmm.
So I mean, it's a regular online courses platform. So you're interested into taking some course, register for that course, and then you take that course on our platform.
Okay. Okay, that's great. So, coming on to the last and final and very interesting and the important question of our podcast. So, what was your best memory of college?
There were, there were like so. I mean, there were like so many memories, right? I mean, first of all, like, I mean, I met some very incredible people in my life. I mean, when I started searching, I started with my best friend Pratik Ganchandani. He is also IITR electrical engineering graduate. So apart from that, I mean, to pick one, it's very difficult. I mean, in terms of question, like, what is the best memory? But um, I think when I got accepted into internship program of my undergrad internship, which was at UMass Amherst. So all my like second year and most of the third year, I wanted to go to an R&D lab, one of the best R&D labs. And the day I cleared my when I got admitted, that's when and when when I was leaving for that. I left from Roorkee itself. So that was one of the happiest days, at least when the undergrad is concerned.
That's yeah, that's actually great. I mean, I can understand accomplishing your dreams and what you
There are
thought.
like so many things. I mean, you cannot pick point and say, okay, this was the best. Because, but if you ask, okay, what's the best, then that is the thing that comes to my mind. Okay, for example, I mean, we launched Searching Eye. That was also one of the best days of our life. Then, we did so like it was all about like I mean, sometimes wasting time with your friends at 12 a.m., 1 a.m., 2 a.m. sitting at Nescafe. I mean, I don't know whether you still call it Nescafe. I mean, the Nescafe area, right? So. So that was there are so many moments. I mean, it's hard to pinpoint, but in terms of, since this podcast is about objectives and goals, so that is the point that came to my mind. Okay, when I got admitted to my internship program, that was one of the moments that I can definitely recall. Okay, yes, uh, you know
Yeah,
sure,
we cannot.
it's very tough. I mean wasting time is one of the best moments, right? But I mean, after, I mean, it sounds like that I was studying. Okay, I studied a lot, undergrad. I mean, doing independent study is not easy. But again, like wasting time with friends. It is the best thing. I mean, nothing can compare that. I mean, going in fourth year, like the course load was very low. So in the morning, we went to like there's a shop in front of the bus stop where there's a Maggie and all these things being served. So we used to go over this. So I mean, there's so many moments. I mean, it's hard to recall. Yeah. But during the podcast, I mean, since it was all about goals and the objectives, so that's the moment I recall. Okay, fine, undergrad internship. Yes, that was, I mean, the best moment.
Yeah, agreed, agreed.
And the good thing, the reason why I recall it, because I and Pratik and Chandani both went to US for the
Okay.
internship, and both had an objective to go to US for internship. No matter what happens, it has to be US, and
Hmm.
we did that. So that's why I recall that moment. So
Thank you, Sanjeev sir, for coming on our podcast. It was great having you and talking about your very cool Swayaat robot startup and DeepEigen startup. It was very good having you on our podcast.
thanks so much for having me here, and I hope that I was able to add value to this discussion.
Yeah, a lot of values, and I have learned a lot from this podcast. And yeah, I will definitely apply it.
Sure, definitely.
Okay,
Thanks so much again.
so thank you.